Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. Today we're going to talk about another dumb TCG investing cliche, but this is one that I think can be reasonable because it's highly subjective, and it is that all of this stuff is too hard to sell. And now, especially if you compare it to stocks, yes, it is much harder to sell. The way stocks work today with online trading and password lockers and everything else, you can have an idea in your head to sell a stock that you own, and then you can have actually executed the trade 20 seconds later. It is super easy. It has become so easy to buy and sell stocks nowadays. TCG products are a whole different thing. If you decide you want to sell some boxes that you have, well, you got to decide what marketplace to put them on. You have to offer them for sale. You have to wait for a buyer. You have to package them up, ship them, wait several days while the shipper gets them there. Eventually, the marketplace will credit you with having fulfilled the delivery, and then you can get paid, which can also take several more days. So, yes, it is very slow. Now, is it too slow? Is it painfully slow? Is it so slow that it's going to discourage you from this altogether? Well, the answer to that is highly subjective. It's very personal. And I've had a bunch of patrons over time come to me and say, what is your plan for selling all this stuff? Because they keep buying boxes, and at some point they realize they've got hundreds of boxes of scores of different things. So different expansions, different types of boxes, maybe different games. And they start to feel overwhelmed at how they'll sell them. And I'll tell you the way that I deal with it. Well, one, I've built this YouTube channel. I've built eBay and TCG player accounts. I built a Patreon where I sell. So I have a bunch of different places to sell my boxes to. So that helps me. In general, though, before I had decided to start a Patreon and potentially sell to patrons, I had always thought, well, Final Trade will just sell on TCG player and eBay. And at the point that I want to sell, I'll put a few boxes up at a time and sell them. And worst case, let's say that tomorrow I woke up and I decided I don't want to do any of this anymore. I hate TCGs, I hate TCG investing, and I want to move on with my life. How would I get rid of all these boxes? Well, initially, I'd probably just do nothing. I'd probably just sit and let them age and appreciate in value for a while. And then at whatever point that I decided that I was ready to sell them, I would pick 5, maybe 10 different boxes, put one of each up on the marketplace that I chose, and wait for them to sell. And, that's a very easy, low stress way to sell through a bunch of boxes. If you were to participate in TCG investing and you did nothing but buy boxes up until the day you retire, and so let's say you're in your 60s and you're now retired and you want to start selling all those boxes you accumulated for 20 years, you could just do the same thing. You just put a few of them up on a marketplace, you wait for them to sell, and once a day you go and you check to see if any sold. If they did, you box it up, print a shipping label, either schedule for your postman to pick it up from your house, or you take it to the post office when you go out, and you just replace it with another box you put up for sale. And at some point you might decide, well, I can handle filling multiple orders a day. So maybe you double or you triple the number of unique boxes that you have for sale up on a marketplace at any one time. But the reality is, you don't have to do a lot. And I think people get into this kind of false idea where they think, if I own 100,000 shares of Coca-Cola, I can sell all of them in seconds. And so what they start looking for is, how can I sell the entirety of all the boxes I had ever bought in TCG investing all at once? And well, the reality is the only way to do that is to go to Rudy, and he'll give you a 50% haircut on the value, and he'll take all your boxes at once. And for some people, that's a really good deal. Some people who don't want to deal with the effort, with the potential fraud, with all of the piecemeal selling of a big collection of boxes, for some of those people, going to Rudy and getting half its value and getting all of it in a cashier's check immediately is a damn good deal. And you'll remember from my video about fees wiping out your gains, you can go back to the formula I showed in that video and see, well, depending on the compound annual growth rate of your entire collection, how much holding time are you giving up by paying a 50% penalty to sell it all at once? And, maybe that's worth it to you. Maybe you give up 2 or 3 or 4 years of holding time, but you get rid of all of it at once, and hey, it's off your hands. So, every person in this hobby has to ask themselves, how much effort is too much to sell all of this? How much is too much time, too much expense, too much fraud risk, and everything else? And for some people, it will be too much and it will dissuade them from coming into this hobby. So this is not a discussion quite like, well, your fees eat up all your profits, where we can just show with math that that's not true, or that there's too many boxes in everyone's closet so no one will make money, where we can just go and look at market prices today and see that that's also not true. This one is much more subjective, and every person is going to have their own feeling on it. For me, I don't feel overwhelmed at all at the idea of selling all these boxes eventually. And my wife even asked me once in the last couple of years, she says, "What do I do if you just drop dead in your sleep one night?" And I said, "You don't do anything. You just sit on the boxes, leave them in the closets where they are, and sit on them until the kids are old enough that they're interested to sell them on eBay. And then just have the kids sell them on eBay." And, the nice thing is if you from time to time feel like this hobby doesn't interest you, you come and go from the hobby, and so you collect boxes, and then for years you may be gone, then you come back and you collect some more. Well, you can just wait. These are appreciating assets. These are rare collectibles that are non-durable that people destroy for fun. And so if you do nothing, if you procrastinate and don't sell them, it's not hurting you. It's benefiting you because you're still getting gains on the boxes. So it seems like, yes, it is a lot of effort to sell these boxes. It is a lot of effort, especially compared to stocks. But, that's part of the reason that things like Pokemon have 20 to 30 to occasionally 40% compound annual growth rates. It's because it's harder. The efficient market hypothesis says that the money is going to flow where it's easy to get returns, and most returns will be adjusted either through risk or effort adjusted or adjusted some other way to be approximately comparable. And that's what we see in this market. You can get amazing returns. Collector boxes have been on a tear for the last 2 years, and a lot of the CAGRs on the more recent ones are approaching 10, 20, sometimes 30%. Yeah, well, there's a price to that, and the price is low market liquidity compared to things like stocks, and it's difficulty and a lot of friction of selling them, high market fees. But if you're in this for the long term and you develop a network of people to buy and sell from, then you can get around a lot of that. And even if you don't want to take the time to develop that network, if you simply have an eBay account and you've built up some history on it and you sell and you protect yourself against fraud as best you can, then you can still come out very, very well on this, selling slowly, especially if you just want to wait till retirement. So I can't really say that this one is wrong. It's not objectively wrong like the other cliches that we talk about, but it's definitely one that has a lot more nuance to it. Some people will be intimidated by the thought of selling all these boxes and the effort involved to the point that they don't want to get into this at all. Some people won't mind it at all and see it as no big deal that maybe when they hit retirement in 10, 20, 30 years, they'll just slowly sell their boxes. And some people have it in their plan from the start to one day email Rudy and say, "I'll take 50 cents on the dollar for the entire collection." And hey, you can still end up with 20, 25, 30% CAGRs, even if you do that. So that's the amazing thing about it. So not quite disproven, but hopefully you have a different sense of how to think about it. Let me know what you think. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.